In France, in 2005, the Equal Rights and Opportunities Act redefines the notion of disability. Social participation was underlined, as well as the welcoming of all children in the usual school. Since, school had to become more accessible and made necessary changes, allowing each pupil to have its own special needs respected. In my daily work, I take care of children with disabilities who go to ordinary school but get the support of a particular package named ULIS, Local Inclusive Education Unit, which I do coordinate. Most of the children spend parts of the day in ordinary class and the rest of the day in the ULIS with special way of schooling. The majority of those children are assisted by a health service called CESAD, Special Services for Education and Care at Home. This CESAD is a care service bonding doctors, paramedical like psychomotor therapists, physiotherapists, speech therapists, etc., and educators together. These professionals are approaching the children during school time in order to support schooling in a common environment. So, joint action by the school and the medical social service is essential to enable children to grow and develop despite disability. Education and care professionals are often meeting each other in school space. Despite this, there are still obstacles to the creation of a real partnership. Indeed, two types of projects exist for the children. A live project carried by the families and care service, and a school project, the most of the time written by school. These two projects are straightly bound together, but often each institution holds the project by its side, and we can observe a real lack of communication on those projects. A sort of distrust and misunderstanding exists from both sides, and it's usually difficult to create a link between them. However, once a year, a meeting called ESS, Schooling Monitoring Teams, brings partners together, families, care services, and Department for Education. It should be the place of a partnership work, but the right conditions are not often in place for this to happen, because these meetings often consist in analysis from the professionals without much exchanges with families, and projects are usually worked on in advance in the different institutions. So in order to change this situation, I worked with a child called E, and I tried to involve him in his ESS. I intended to put the project back at the center of partnership concerns with a polycentric approach, and to encourage the child's self-determination, because he didn't seem to understand fully his global project and the usefulness of the therapeutic support, which he didn't invest much in. The youth involvement to his ESS seemed to me really important, as most of the time pupils are excluded from these meetings. Furthermore, even if they are included to it, inequalities in relationships are so important that children are more often spectators than real players. My starting point was therefore to work with this child on a joint definition of his difficulties and the needs that arise from them. From this jointly conducted work, I created a simplified table illustrated with pictograms to facilitate the child's understanding, and this table served as a support from the child's speech during the meeting. This work and the place given to the child during the meeting deeply modified the relationship between the school and the care service, transitioning from a delegation-type relationship to a more collaborative one. Indeed, the CESAD supporting this child was already involving him in meetings and decisions concerning himself. This approach was a support point for entering into collaboration. When the surveyors observed that the school was engaging in a similar dynamic, the referential type obstacles were lifted. Furthermore, this approach concretely reflects the new positioning of the school, which supports the children and stands by their side, and try to respond to his needs as best as possible. The school thus shows a real willingness to dialogue and cooperate instead to impose, and that facilitates a relationship by alleviating the care services fears. Moreover, the change in posture allows the emergence of conflicts which take place during the meeting. And finally, highlighting needs and necessary adaptation with the child made possible to converge observation between the school and the health service, and thus create a minimum of common references. In this way, placing the young person's project at the center of partnership discussion has allowed each actor to take a step back, with sometimes the emergence of specific points of conflict, allowing the institutions to clearly position themselves on where they stand. The issue of needs seems central to me in defining the project and gives meaning both to the school adaptations and to the therapeutic and medical supports. This clear definition of the young person's need and project allows the creation of this common problem which serves as a foundation for partnership work.